lovelies, welcome back to Nusha Cube. You already know what it is. It's TBY, the baddest YouTuber ever meet or see. I'm having a bad hair day today. I try to fix it. I ain't really fix it for real, but we gonna fix it. But anyways, I'm gonna tell you guys just a little update of what's going on. So eventually, within like a few days or so, I'm gonna be going to I'm not gonna say where I'm going yet, but I'm gonna take my first plane ride and I'm super excited. I already have a trip planned out. It's like a little mini vacation. This will be my first ever, like, not my first ever vacation to like different places, but my first vacation like on a plane. Cause I've cruised, whatever, I've done all of that, but I just never actually been on a plane. And I'm super nervous and excited. I don't know what to expect, like whatever. But anyways, so I'm gonna keep you guys updated on that. But today we're gonna react to one of my favorite things I used to watch as a kid. It's called What They Didn't Show Us: Extreme Home Makeovers. I used to watch that a lot when I was a kid. That used to be my favorite thing to watch because I'm like, oh, like I would like to see how they transform things. So what they didn't show us, let's go ahead and let's see what's giving. Give me peso, extendo. I carry bitches like a pego. Pew, pew, pew. Let's go ahead and get into it. Why did I do that? I don't know.
Are you guys ready to see what's behind this bus?
Yeah.
Sure?
Oh, he's a big.
Yeah.
I would cry too. I probably would cry. I have an ugly
You
cry
guys
face.
want to see the house? You know what to say? You gotta say it with me.
I don't see no black people in that crowd.
Everything changed after the TV cameras left town.
Guys, look.
Now,
Beautiful
9 years
house.
later, her dream home has become a nightmare.
We desperately need you.
I was gonna ask, like, they're building these homes.
Asserta said
Are
their
they paid
little
off?
girls had combined immune deficiency disease.
Nothing wrong with those kids.
She should have never gotten the house. The house is too big. No shoes on. If they're sick, why would you let them do?
No masks on, no
masks, no.
What am I seeing on the streets?
What?
They couldn't pay the taxes.
That property value be going
Hi,
up.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm BJ.
And this is our new channel Study
That's
Break,
so
where we get into the
good.
background, history, and legal analysis of
Make
topics
sure y'all go,
across the world that we happen to find interesting.
Subscribe to
And
their
no,
channel.
this is not legal advice. If you're in need of legal advice, please consult an attorney in your jurisdiction. Now, during our last study break, we discussed a troupe of mermaids who were secretly recorded changing into their tails at the Clearwater, Florida Aquarium. Be sure to check that one out if you missed it.
In today's episode, we are going to bring it back to the early 2000s and dive into the reality show
I didn't even know
Extreme
they had aquarium
Makeover
in
Home
Clearwater.
Edition.
That did that.
Now, the show began in 2004, and the premise was truly wholesome. During a time where reality TV was less than family friendly, Ty Pennington and his design team would travel across America
My
searching for
dog.
families in need of functional homes. The show would enlist the entire community for these projects, such as neighbors, local contractors, and they would build these families a home in just 5 days. And they would tailor the home to the specific needs of
sorry.
each family. Now,
I just can't get
of
over the
course,
5 days.
getting a beautiful, large custom home
I thought it was
for
like a
free
month,
makes
maybe a
great
week.
reality TV.
Because I knew they would
but
go
the
to Disney
actual
World or whatever
reality
for like.
is nothing is
I
for
didn't know it was
free.
5 days.
Some of the families that the show selected would be hit with unexpected increases in property taxes and costs
Yup.
just to maintain the luxury homes that they were given. This
Mhm.
resulted, unfortunately, in financial ruin
I mean,
for
y'all
many
shoulda
of
knew,
them.
though.
So not only are we going to discuss how
You
the
get a new
families
home,
were
big
not
ass
prepared
home.
for
You
the
didn't
financial
think property tax
obligations
would've went
and
up?
implications of their new homes, but as
Especially
the show
utilities.
gained popularity, quite a few people would deceive and trick producers of the show to become one of those lucky families picked. One family going so far as to take multiple children into their care, only to send them to group homes after moving into their new
That
McMansion,
is
which
sick.
did eventually spark a lawsuit. But we'll get to that in a minute.
When Ty Pennington, the host of the show,
Sick.
yelled, "Move that bus!" Like,
Disgusting.
like
Poor kids.
crazy. We would see these incredible McMansions.
Hopefully
Some
they get
homes
what
going
deserves
from 3
coming to them. That
bedrooms
is
all
not-
the way up to 8.
Poor
These
baby.
massive playrooms with slides and animal heads coming out of the walls. Bedrooms with rocket ship beds. Backyards complete
Always
with
wanted them
massive
to do that.
playhouses. Or
Always
brand
wanted
new
to have
swimming
that.
pools. And really, you just couldn't help but get teary-eyed alongside the family when their new home was revealed. The show sought after families in these incredibly vulnerable positions, and they didn't appear to to think about the long-term financial burden of the luxury homes they were providing.
Now, one such family is the Lanes family of Bergenfield, New Jersey. They had their split-level home remodeled by the show in 2006. The mom was in remission from thyroid cancer. 3 of the family members were blind,
Might as well
and
turn
one
into
was
an
deaf.
Airbnb if that's
This
the
home
case.
was actually one of the more conservatively
Live in a
done on
motel,
the
get
show,
your Airbnb,
but it
get
was
more money like
equipped
that,
with a
get in the
home
house.
computer system and a reading system to help the family with their disabilities. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, but unfortunately in this situation, the value of their home increased by like $200,000 after the remodel. And that, of course, caused their property taxes to go up thousands of dollars every single year. Now, this family spent years
200,000?
trying their best to maintain the home
200,000,
and the
that's a lot
increased
of money.
costs. But by 2012, they did have to sell and leave the state of New Jersey to Virginia, having to live with family members to starting completely over financially.
Hey guys, surprise! Welcome home, Oakbath family!
This is the first time we built a surprise house.
Something they didn't ask for, something they don't expect.
Here's a 5,400 square foot house.
What are you itching?
Surprise!
Now, the next family, the Ockvath family,
I forgot
they
he
didn't
has
even
a
ask
head
for a
that
house. They were on a 2005 episode of Extreme Makeover to spruce up the local children's cancer ward as the Ockvath's
200K.
daughter was undergoing cancer treatments. Extreme Makeover decided to surprise the Ockvaths with a house as well.
Crazy.
Now, the family was renting a ranch in Arizona, but the show did get the owner of the ranch to sign over ownership to the Ockvath family. The show ended up tearing down the 1,800 square foot home,
It's pretty,
rebuilding them
though.
a $1 million 6-bedroom mansion complete with a movie theater and backyard carousel.
I feel like that's necessary, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely necessary. Now it quickly became impossible for the family to afford this home after the makeover. The utilities alone skyrocketed up to $1,200 a month for electric and $400 for water, and the property taxes went from $1,625 to $5,600 annually. So
Okay.
that's quite a big increase, just all around the board.
Their property taxes went up $4,000.
And their electric bill is like the cost of some people's mortgage.
That is true.
$1,200 for electricity?
Wild.
My word,
They
that
could have rent
carousel,
out that
maybe it wasn't
carousel
necessary
and
after
have
all.
people
Wow,
like
that
paying
electric
people
bill,
to
they
come.
really struggled to
That's
maintain the home.
crazy,
And just 1 year
though.
later in 2006, they used the mansion as collateral to get a loan to then continue to afford the mansion. So it's just like a vicious cycle. Eventually, this just didn't work out and they needed to offload the home, but it was 2008 and the market had crashed at this point.
Ooh.
So this $1 million mansion sold for $540,000 in 2009, which was seemingly just enough to pay the loan they pulled out in 2006. So much like the other family, they are starting
Oh,
financially
my
over.
God.
Mrs. Ockvath actually commented on this in 2009. She stated, "It's been frustrating. When the cameras go off, it's just different. Everybody thinks everything is just happily ever after. People think we're rich, but we have nothing. We live paycheck to paycheck. We have no cushion anymore." That's sad.
It really
Paycheck to
is,
paycheck
and
is-
it's extra sad because
hate
it's
it.
not the only
Been
time
there,
it
done
happened.
it,
Like, it
don't like
continued
it.
to happen over and over.
It just
Like-
continues to happen. I don't even think we could cover all the families in this too.
I know, it's pretty sad. Kind of like, I mean, you mentioned this earlier, but obviously, if they're seeking out families that are having a hard time affording the things that they need in their homes, kind of foreseeable that these families will have a hard time affording massively increased utility
And they keep
bills
doing it.
and mortgage payments or property taxes
They
or
keep
whatever.
going after
by the
these
show. Like,
people.
it seems like it's predictable, and it almost makes me wonder: did the show actually know that this
Of
was
course
going
they
on
did,
and this
babe.
proceeded anyway because it made good TV?
Oh yeah, because they proceeded years after these people started losing their homes.
Ugh,
They
the
started
thing-
before the market crash, they went through the market crash, and after when things started to go up again.
And here we are, clapping, move the bus, let's cry. And it's just all this is going on after the episodes end.
Yet they're already financially vulnerable, giving them just so much more than what they need. It's not just functionality, it's so far beyond what's actually needed, it just becomes unattainable.
It reminds me of that show Pimp My Ride, where they would put like bars and water slides out the back of people's trunks and stuff.
A recording studio.
They really did put recording studios in people's cars. Wow, the 2000s were a wild time.
It was.
These kids will never know. So
that was
this
fake.
happened, like we said, to many families,
came out and said Pimp
including,
My Ride
for
was
another
fake.
example, the Nicholas family. Now, they would also lose their home, but this
That
time
was
it was
cool
actually
show,
to
though.
foreclosure. Arlene Nicholas's husband had passed away. The show rebuilt her home in 2008. Now, the home's annual property taxes more than tripled from $2,000 a year in 2008 to $7,500 a year in 2009. The increased property and insurance costs caused the mortgage to balloon for the Nicholas family.
Now, 9 years later, her dream home has become a nightmare.
We've been evicted.
A moving van was parked out front as the family scrambles to gather all that they can.
The sheriff could show up at any moment right now, and we would have to leave whatever's left behind. And unfortunately, I haven't even had a chance to go through everything.
She says she was able to afford the $30,000 mortgage, but over the years, property taxes tripled.
It just took, a few unexpected emergencies. I got behind.
The next thing she knew, an eviction notice came in the mail.
I asked the judge if there was anything that could stop this, and he said no. And I said, not even health reasons, nothing. And he said no.
The once beautiful home is now nearly empty. The moving truck is full.
They can take away the house, but they won't take away the memories.
Now, these were just a few examples of
I
the
love
families
that.
that lost their new homes due to unexpected
Take away the house,
tax
but they
and
can't take
financial
away the memories. That's
consequences
real.
and increased monthly
I've been
expenses,
in that
which
position.
set them back
Almost got
even
addicted
further
once.
than where they
It's
were
not cool.
before Extreme Home
Hate
Makeover
it.
even got themselves
Got
involved
you
in these
stressed
people's
when you
lives,
pull your
which,
hair
as
out.
we mentioned, they specifically sought out vulnerable people. So while most of America was
happens to the
watching
best of
Extreme
us.
Makeover Home Edition with teary eyes, feeling great for these families, some people were plotting exactly how they were going to get on the show to score their very own McMansion.
All right, now this is where it starts getting wild.
I feel like it's been wild since 2 minutes in.
This is gonna get wild. So the Serta family, they were on season 6, episode 25 of Extreme Makeover. Terry Serta, the mom, wrote into the show stating that she suffered from combined immunodeficiency disease, and that also both of her daughters also suffered from the immunodeficiency disease.
The old house was horrible. It really made me and Maggie sick, but the new house is like heaven. It's just a new safe haven for me and my little sister. I was really excited about being able to live like a normal kid. It made me feel just so amazing.
The show completely transformed their home, which included a high-quality air filtration system that would help with their immunodeficiency. But much like the previous families, by 2009, they no longer could afford the increased costs of the home. So they ended up selling their home and moving to Oregon. Now, this is when the story really starts to take a strange turn.
Las Vegas family featured on Extreme Makeover Home Edition is under scrutiny.
Neighbors had their doubts.
She goes, there's nothing wrong with those kids.
She should have never gotten the house.
Neighbors on this street report seeing two normal girls, playful and healthy.
She used to let her kids run around with no shoes on. If they're sick, why would you let them do?
No masks on, no
masks, no.
Several doctors and a hospital social worker began to question Terry's insistence that her daughters even had chronic health problems. When all the testing and examinations indicated otherwise. Dr. Valvano, who specialized in suspected child abuse and neglect, reported the Serta family to state child welfare authorities, where the state took temporary custody of their daughters. 6 doctors would end up testifying at the Clackamas County Circuit Court that the girls did not live in constant medical peril, and Dr. Valvano told the judge that the 2 daughters are victims of medical abuse. One of the doctors testified that Terry Serta isolated her daughters from other children, telling the girls that the common cold was a death sentence, and instilled unwarranted fears that could cause psychological harm. Now, an expert who spoke out just in general about the situation said this behavior is commonly described as Munchausen by proxy. In an interview with Terry Serta, she even acknowledged that Munchausen by proxy has come up in her visits multiple times with various medical professionals. Judge Norby, who was presiding over the case, found Terry Serta unconvincing when she took the stand, going as far to call her behavior obsessive and unjustifiable.
After days of testimony, a judge didn't buy Mom's argument either,
She looked like a
saying she
liar.
was a danger to the children. Despite that, the girls
Poor
were
babies.
allowed to return home.
That was because the judge found that only the mother was a danger to the children, and that the father was not a danger.
But the fact that he even put up with this,
competent parent,
so he's the problem
can
too.
stay. The family's lawyer tells us the Sertas are back living in Las Vegas, seeing their old doctors who they say better understand the girl's condition.
But no one really knows what happened to them after that.
Never to be heard from again.
Got that house and that air filtration system?
I am still kind of hung up on the carousel.
I want a carousel.
I imagine like 15 years later, it's still back there, faded, rusty. Ooh. So now we're going to talk about the Leomitis and Higgins families. The Leomitises had 3 children, and the Higginses had 5 children, and they were neighbors. So the parents of the Higgins family tragically had passed away. Their neighbors, the Leomitises, took the 5 kids in under their care. Now, of course, obviously, they took 5 more people into their home. They did need a bigger home to now raise 8 children. The show demolished their existing 1,200-foot square home and built a 9-bedroom, 6-bathroom, 2-story home for them instead. In addition to the home itself, according to court documents, yes, we'll get to that in a minute, the siblings were given cars, gifts, and roughly $50,000 in cash donations. Now, all this happened in February 2005.
3 years later, the recession,
by April 2005, that's like 2 months later, the 5 Higgins kids, the orphans, the ones with no parents, they got kicked out. The Leomitises evicted them. They retained the cars, the gifts, and the $50,000 in donations. Obviously, those were all meant for the Higgins children, and according to court documents, that's what the Higgins children said as well. But anybody who watched that show would obviously, you know, of course, the Leomitis family did take the Higgins kids in and all that, and that's really great. Maybe they should have got some gifts, but people were probably really feeling bad for these 5 kids that lost their parents. Now, by August 2005, that same year, the Higgins children would file a lawsuit against the Leomitis family. They also sued ABC and the producers of the Extreme Makeover Home Edition show. They sued for fraud, negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and breach of contract. Now, this video is already getting too long, but we really want to dive into that lawsuit, so stay tuned for a future episode of Study Break where we're going to get into all of the ins and outs of that lawsuit.
Now, you guys wouldn't believe, but
they win?
Actually, yeah, you would. The Leomitis are not the only family to take children in, specifically 5 children, only to then kick them out right after the film crew packs up and leaves. The Friday family adopted 5 siblings and legally adopted. These kids all changed their last name to Friday as well. 3 of those siblings were under the age of 10 years old, and 2 were teenagers. Now, the 5 adopted children, they were living in a converted carport when the parents enlisted the help of Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Much like the previous story, a few months after moving into their new home, they kicked out all 5 of their adopted children. And not only were these kids kicked out, but they were split up.
There's even an interview with the kids.
Extreme Makeover.
You guys are disgusting. God is gonna deal with you. That is disgusting.
Devonda and James Friday had 7 children. 5 had just been adopted.
I've heard of things like this before, but to actually
really adults.
I just felt like I was home.
They thought they had found a permanent family.
We made a vow to keep the family
They're
together.
disgusting.
And we made it happen.
I felt like they were my mom and dad.
I would have changed my last
I loved
name.
them
Like
they were my
buttonhole.
real parents. I did.
But Chris and Kamaya say everything changed after the TV cameras left town.
What they did to us
Money will
was
change a
just
person for real.
wrong. Threw us all out.
Chris says he was sent to a group home because of a bad attitude a few months after recording the show, but says he was told it was only temporary. Maya says she was sent to a different group home a few months later and told the same thing.
You gave me away. What parents don't do that? No.
Within a year, they say all 5 adopted children were gone from the house.
My brother and sister's 5 years old. How can they get in that much trouble where you have to kick them out? I know it was all about the money.
Of course.
From the first day, it was all about the money.
That's all she's about. Money. It's money with her.
She probably getting money from you guys
kick out
with
all
the
5
state.
adopted children. The mom had
I've
this
heard of people doing that too.
organization that the show helped.
Adopting a lot of
created
kids just so we can get
a
some
brick
money
and
out of
mortar
them and
store
treat
in
them
the town.
poorly.
She
This
took
is
all the money
disgusting.
from it, bought herself a Mercedes.
That's why I don't donate to nonprofits. I mean, honestly,
I don't donate to
unless I
nonprofits
personally
either,
know the
babes.
person that owns it, it's just too easy for people to do stuff like that. It's hard.
Unless it's John
Today,
Hopkins,
their
I'm not
nonprofit
donating.
storefront sits empty, but the Fridays
Or Red
still
Nose.
live in the house. In fact, these property records show that its value has more than doubled since the home
Would you like to
makeover.
round up? No,
Whistleblower 9
I
asked
would
the
not.
Fridays to share their side of the story, but they did not want
Unless
to
it's
talk
John
on camera.
Hopkins University for
Devonta
Children or
Friday
St. Jude,
stopped
I'm
her
not
Mercedes
doing
in the middle of the street when she saw us
Ooh,
outside her
she backing
house,
up.
then drove the other way.
Now,
Of course
some
she did.
people probably be
'Cause she
surprised
know.
to find out Extreme Makeover Home Edition relaunched on HGTV very recently, back in 2020.
Oh, really?
The producers, though, seem to have taken note of all of the harm that the show had caused. They said this time around, they're going to take long-term affordability of the homes into account. Allegedly, apparently, they're no longer going to build these huge McMansions. They're just going to focus on functionality and what the family truly needs. I don't think that's going to make for as good of TV, and so I don't know why they're trying to do this, but it definitely is a good thing to see that they're not going to still be going that same
building a
route,
mansion in
because
5
this
days
is
is
terrible, the
crazy.
things that have gone on here.
I didn't know
But
that
like,
was
there's
possible.
plenty of families who came out of this on the other end who were totally fine. But there's just a lot of families
is
that
a
just
beautiful
experienced, I mean, complete financial ruin. They have to start from the bottom all the way to the top, moving in with family members.
The one family had to leave their state. I mean, imagine like the kids having to leave their school, go to a different state. That's terrible.
And
All
ABC
the
Extreme
friends
Home
that they
Makeover,
made.
they probably did set out to do a good deed. I mean, I also don't know about that because they made hundreds of millions of dollars. So was it really like, we're building these homes to like really help them?
I wish
or
they
keep
would at
getting
least like
more and more
paid
outrageous to keep people interested in the show?
it
Most
off.
likely it was a
Like,
split
they could've done
bet
something.
there. I mean, most likely some of the people, for example, maybe the
That-
host,
that
really
show
thought
is
they were doing
definitely,
something
like,
good. But I can guarantee you,
booming.
somebody
A lot of
somewhere
people
up
watched
higher
it.
up that chain knew for a fact what was going on and just looked the other way for some time.
They didn't consider the long-term financial burden.
They did. They knew.
Maybe.
I think
Maybe
they
they
definitely
didn't.
did.
Maybe.
They say they didn't. We'll say that.
Yeah, we'll say that.
They did.
Apparently, they hadn't considered it before 2020. We'll say that. But I mean, honestly, the stories of the kids who were used in order for the adults to scam their way onto a show for a free house or for free remodeling is truly
Disgusting.
preposterous and frankly heartbreaking. Like, the kids in these stories already had been through so much in their lives, and then just to be used again by people and kicked out or evicted, I can't even get over it.
You have a brand new mansion.
And now it's like you can't even keep the kids. Now you gotta kick the kids out.
Now you kick the kids out. You got this man. You have 9 bedrooms for what? You kicked 5 kids out.
Oh,
what are you doing with those 9 bedrooms now?
that's a really good question. What are you doing with them 9 bedrooms? They can move the carousel inside, maybe.
Dedicate a whole room to the carousel.
Anyway, that's really all we have
That
for
is
today.
stupid.
Thanks for
Oh,
taking
bitch,
your
you got
study
my
break
hair.
with us.
Girl,
I'm
that.
Shelby.
And I'm BJ.
Now get back to work.
Okay. Anyways, that's the end of that, guys. Honestly, how I feel about that is it's disgusting how on both sides, I would say it's disgusting because I know people definitely have been like, oh, let me conjure up a plan so I can get a free house. And then I'm surprised they even still got this house. If they have this house to today, the 9 bedrooms, how are they affording it? What exactly are they doing to afford that? First of all. Second of all, on the Extreme Makeovers part, to say that they just now are figuring out about all this, that's a lie. Because in 2000, the show started in 2000, right? Or 2002, whatever. No, it started in 2004. Okay, the show started in 2004, like they said. So 2004, you have the first family that they did, right? Okay, they complained and everything. Now it's 2005. You have all the other allegations. I don't know if did the show end in like 2008, right? I don't know, but 4 or whatever. During those period of 4 years, you mean to tell me that nobody once complains to you? You didn't once think about the financial aspect of it? You're telling me a poor family or middle class family or low income family is able to afford a mansion? You're really gonna sit here and tell me that? And they're struggling, they got tears on their eyes, the kids' knees are ashy, they don't got no shoes on their feet. You really better sit here and tell me that? I don't believe it. But anyways, yeah, that was the end of the video. It was informative, not interesting. It was very informative. And hopefully they get it together. And we'll see 2020, 2021, whatever, the new show that could come out with. I'm not going to watch it, but hopefully, they take everything into account and don't be playing these people crazy. But anyways, guys, thank you for coming, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'll see you later. Bye.